Good evening to all of you watching at home. It's SuperSquid back with Amigos Racing Team, and tonight we bring you Season 2, la temporada número 2 of the ART Academy series. This is our feeder series where we hope to promote some of our upcoming talents into the senior team where they can take part on the wider Gran Turismo stage on international events. If you're interested in joining Amigos Racing Team, there is a link in the description below. For our Discord channel, we've got a wide range of events and series on offer, especially some specials leading up to Christmas as well. If you want to get involved, hit the button and get on track. As simple as that. So tonight's race at the Amigos Racing Team Academy brings us to Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit. If I can get my focus on one of the drivers there. And you'll see that we're in the McLaren 650S Gr.3. It's Gr.4, sorry. We've got Keeney in the comments saying, good lads, wish I could be there with you. It's a shame you're not on track, Keeney. I was hoping to see you, particularly, I must say, because you had a huge amount of progress last season. But hopefully you'll join us another time. So as you can see there, we're doing our qualifying session first. If I back out just for a moment there, I'll run you through the lobby settings as well. So 30 laps tonight here at Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit. 2.5 miles of fantastic racing tonight, I'm sure. We're not looking for any particular weather. I might see a day and night transition though with 10 times time speed. We've got 2 times tyres and fuel, and I believe, I recall rightly, we're using all of the racing tyres, but softs and mediums softs and hards must be used. They're the compulsory tyre. We have a 10-minute qualifier, also with tyre and fuel wear, so it might be interesting to see if the drivers go for an aggressive first few laps and pit and try again, or if they're going to save up, burn some fuel, and go all out at the end. As you can see there, all racing tyres are permitted, hard and softs are mandatory. And they can use any driver aids they wish, although generally we're quite good at seeing some of our drivers turning these off in the Academy series, which is a real good sight for their development. So, first hot lap there is going to be from Sergeant Colin. I think we're right on board with him, if my keyboard decides to work for me today. I'm not going to have any buttons there on my keyboard at all, am I? Should we try that again? No, that is rather strange. Okay, well, we'll jump on with him this way as he heads through towards the second sector there of the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit. So holding that right hander, maintain lots of speed through there. Maybe just about to grab 5th gear now, so keep it in 4th. A little lift there, dab on the brakes, using all the exit curve there. Now it's about trying to navigate really cleanly through this final sector here, braking the straight lanes, just almost clipped the grass there, but maybe a little bit late there. Keeps it crucially out of the gravel trap on the left hand side, down to 3rd gear, a little wide of the apex there, but now he's got lots of grip on the racing hard tyres. Interesting to see these qualifying on the hard tyres. Going to keep it pinned to 5th gear, final braking zone just as the escape road appears on the left. Early shift up into 4th gear, making the most of the width of the track. I think we're going to see maybe like a 33 out of Colon here, I'd say. Almost a 32.707. That'll be the time to beat so far. Mad Daz does beat it with a 32.4. Let's see who's next across the line. Voodoo will beat it across the line next. Not quite on the bubble there. Urban Fire is a little bit further behind as well. What about Nick Baker? He crossed the line. 33.1 puts him into 3rd place. Kakalele's going to cross the line, but his lap will be invalid following a penalty. So we'll have a look at Bertie then, as he is about to have his first time lap in the bank. Not quite as fast as pole position, but enough for P4 there. Let's look at Marty's crossing the line next. Also not quite going to be close enough for the pole position, but down to P6. Voodoo coming around the final corner there. Oh, sorry, Chris Shugger around the final corner there. Looking very hot and just short of pole there by 1/4 of a tenth there. Hardly anything in it at all. Voodoo down in P8. Kakalele has also had a lap there with a penalty, so he does not have a lap time set at the moment. We're about halfway through the qualifying session though, so he really does need to get a good time in soon. Jump back, there's big Mad Daz, our current pole sitter, who finds himself in the grass. That's not going to do his tyres any good. You have to make sure he scrubs those clean before he starts on another flying lap. Chris Shah is heading into the second sector there. Currently 1.5 tenths up on his personal best, but he's going to need to find a little bit more time if he's going to try and obtain pole position. Any new timing coming in at the moment? Nothing yet. No one's yet beaten their previous best time. A little concerning there possibly, as we're really hoping that they'll get some faster times in now that some of the fuel's burnt off, the tyres are warmed up. In fact, Voodoo does set a new time there, 34.5. Nick, though, best his previous time with a 32.8. Still, though, about half a second off of pole position into the second half of our qualifying now. Kakule with a 1:36, still quite a way off pole there as well, but improved nonetheless. It looks like there is that Bertie has gone off in the sand. No, who went off? Was that Daz? I cannot see who's just flown off of the track there. Maybe it was Urban Fire. Yes, so it seems that he's having what's known in the trade as a skill issue there. So hopefully he'll find his way soon. Some rear damage to boot, but it is on weak, so it should patch itself up quickly. Let's watch our resident Trinidad in their Kakalele flying into the second sector there, a 10th up on his personal best, but you see there a little bit wide of that apex. He's had to back out the throttle before heading up the hill, and any time you lose at the start of that hill will be carried all the way down to the end. It's really crucial that you nail the exit there. Rolling off the fender there onto 4th gear, holding that apex nice and tight and using just enough of the curve to keep it safe. Lays in the chat there, good evening boys. Good evening Lays, we hope you are doing well. Kakule kicking up just a little bit of gravel there, keeping out of the grass, and now he heads up into the final sector. Sergeant Colon grabs pole there, 1:32.2, as Kakule dips a toe in the grass and sends it backwards right into the middle of the road, but crucially Bertie is just about to dodge that one there. Cuzzy says, good luck boys, good to have you boys, Squid on the mic again. It's good to be back on the mic. It's good to have you in the chat as well, Cuzzy. Thank you for joining us. So as Kakalele recovers himself there, Marty's coming through the final few corners there. Colin still has that crucial time there, 32.2 to beat. No one is on the bubble just yet. Bertie crosses the line, he's 3/10 slower, so no luck for him. Urban Fire is definitely going to be slower there. He's almost 30 seconds down his previous best. We're looking to maybe pick up a tiny bit of slipstream there from Nick Baker, as Chris Char now sets the timing screens like there with a 1:32.1, an excellent time from him. There might be another 2 laps or so left in it as they head on to their near the end of the qualifying session here, I should say. God, I'm all over the place today. I'm very out of practice, I'm sure you can tell. I'm also going to get my little track map up, I think, just in the corner, just so I can keep myself on it with all the corner names. Got wonderful corner names here. Paddock Hill, Dingle Dell, although at Bottom Bend, I don't think it's called Bottom Bend anymore, isn't it called Graham Hill Bend? Yeah, sounds about right. So let's have a look maybe at our current pole sitter, Sergeant Collins. He is about to come round for another lap. He is definitely not up there compared to his previous best, almost 3 seconds off the pace in fact. So you have time for one more lap, but he's going to have to really nail it this time. See, controls working on the keyboard now? Of course they're not. So let's jump down to Nick Baker. Let's see how he's doing. He crosses the line there. Still about a couple of tenths slow of where he's been already. And he's 8 tenths off a pole there. Mad Daz actually has just snagged pole position there. A 1:32 flat. He's not going any faster for the time being. But that's an excellent lap time to set there. Just about half a tenth ahead of Chris Shire. It's really getting close there. Bertie moves up into P4 with a 1:32.7. So really is now all to play for those top 3 or 4 drivers. They know there's probably another 10th in there somewhere, but they really have to push the limits now if they want to get that top spot on the podium, on the grid, sorry. Marty's improved there to a 34.4, still only good enough for P7. Lay said it is indeed super tight, super close timing here, and hopefully this will bleed into the main race as well. Mad Daz now heading up through Dingledale. Just keeping it off the grass, very close there, but it has cost him a couple of tenths there heading through Stirling's, and now onto the final long straightaway here. I'm not sure he's going to recover 3/10 in one corner. Let's see how he does. Braking just before the final marker there. Almost at the apex. Flat out now using third gear for the extra rotation. And it's the final dash to the line. He will have enough for one more lap, I believe. It's going to be close. 32.4. So not his best, but he's got one more roll of the dice there, it seems. Chris Charr heading through the middle sector there. He's got Martin in front of him. But will that be slipstream or will that be dirty air? Very hard to tell. See if we can jump on board with him and see what he sees as he heads through Dingle Dell here. Of course, at the dip there, giving way to a blind uphill right-hand corner. You can cut a lot of more of that right-hander than you think you can, as Voodoo's decided to stay to the side there. And there's a bit of contact there between Chris and Martin. Not what you want to see in the qualifying lap. And let's go a drag race to the line. Let's see how this one pans out. Maybe a bit of friendly competition, a bit of race practice. Is Chris going to hold it around the outside? No, he's given way, and that's going to be Marty heading through the final corner by himself. See, Bertie's done there. He's crossed the line. He's done. Nick is in the pits. No improvements on the timing screen so far. Voodoo's definitely not improving there with a 2:15. That's been a big accident we saw earlier. Kakalele's looking to come around. He's got a 36 to beat so far. It's going to be a 34, I think. 34.8, still only good enough for the last spot on the grid. No improvements from him. So I think we're just waiting now on Big Mad Daz. He is already a tiny bit on there up in his previous best. He's 1/100th up there. Not much in it at all. But if he keeps his pace, he might just sneak into a 31. So you've got to be very aggressive now. Throws the car into the right-hander. Already on full throttle before he's even near the exit. Running all the way wide. And now he's going to take that McLaren as fast as he can over the line. Maybe 130 miles an hour as he nears it. And it's a 32.018. So close to that 31, but just not quite. Maybe in the race he has something else to say about that. And I'm sure as we see some softer tyre compounds, we'll easily see that 32 barrier come down. So it appears then that our provisional grid, as you see on the right here, we have Big Mad Daz with a 32.0, followed by Chris Charr 32.1, Colon a 32.2, and then a half-second jump now off the podium to Big Crazy Bertie, 32.7 for him, and Nick Baker not far behind at all. Credit to him on a 32.8. And then we jump about another second and a half away there. Urban Fire down in P6, 34.2. 2/10 away there is Martin on a 34.4, and at the back of the pack there with a big improvement is Voodoo with a 34.5. Last of all, but certainly not least, Kakalele at 34.8. So interesting to see, we might even have two smaller races going on here. Our front three definitely are made of a different kind of metal there, but let's see as our 5 red lights are about to go out. If I can get rid of that. Let's see if I can unplug my keyboard quickly, see if that's going to fix the buttons. Right, the lights are off, the race is on. Mad Daz has the edge there leading into turn 1. Chris Char's going to keep on the outside, and Colon is just nipping to the inside there. This could be a very tight squeeze. There's a tiny little rub in there between Nick and Bertie, but they are through safely. And how many times have you seen Brands Hatch turn 1 without any incidents? Because I don't remember it for a very long time. They're all safely through turn 1 and turn 2, it looks like. Keyboard's finally working, so we're right on board with Nick Baker as he heads into the left-hander of Graham Hill Bend. Not quite using all the apex curb there, but I think someone's gone off at the back. There's been a big incident there. It's Voodoo and Kakalele. See if we can find out what's happened here. So it's run on board there with Kakalele. Voodoo's gone wide into a spin. That's so unfortunate as he's rejoining. He's swiped straight into Kakalele. Just a passenger in that instant, poor guy. But Voodoo very courteously there is waiting for Kakalele to rejoin. And will hopefully cause no hard feelings between the pair of them. They're still racing hard at the back of the pack, only half a second in it. And again, at Amigos, a Racing Team Academy, we love to see this fair driving and sportsmanship. This is what we really want to breed into our drivers more than anything else, a sense of fair play and respect. At the front of the pack though, respect goes to Mad Daz, who has kept his P1. I say kept P1, I think he took it off of Chris Chardy. No, he kept P1 at the start. I'm completely forgetting things. Mad Daz will lead them around the final turn there. We see if we can jump on board and see what's going on behind him. If I hold that button, I think there we do. As already it's like Sergeant Colon diving into the pits to get rid of his hard tyres. As we said, the hard and the soft are mandatory for this race. Mediums are optional, so maybe Colon knows something we don't. and would rather get those hard tyres off. There must be a big time to gain then if he's going to ditch them after one lap. You see there he's jumped onto the soft tyres as he leaves the pits. Crucially for him, he's just ahead of Voodoo and Kakelele, so he's avoided that traffic that could have been if he maybe put a little bit of fuel in as well. So he has actually put a little bit of fuel in, but fortunately not had to use up too much and therefore refuel extra. So we're interested to see what his pace is like in a lot of clear air there, 8 seconds or so back up to Urban Fire. How quickly will he close that gap, and if so, will his tyres pay the price before he can get his way through? Mad Daz though opening the gap at the lead to almost a second already from Chris Charr. We know that slipstream requires a second or less to the car in front to make sure they punch that hole in the air and they make it easier for you to build up speed following them. Of course, it does make it a little bit more difficult in the corners where the turbulence over the front of your car isn't quite as strong and causes you to lose grip. Mad Daz, they're losing grip, braking a bit late. This could be Chris's opportunity, not into the left-hander of Sterling's, but definitely down the back straights. Mad Daz has a bad run out of there as well. It's going to be a drag race now, then we're side by side. Chris Charr is looking for a route on the outside. He's going to be very, very brave, but it's not come off for him. And I think he's now found himself actually, he's not worked for him, he's in first place, but only because Mad Daz doesn't want to fight that fight right now. He's gone into the pit, so Chris Charr resumes the lead, Nick into second, Bertie in third, Marty coming around the corner there in P4. Mad Daz is going to come out of the pits now on soft tyres. Sergeant Colon, if I look behind, I think he's just about to go around his outside, and Mad Daz, very gentlemanly there, making sure he doesn't cause an obstruction on the racing line. I think obviously I'd have liked to have seen some more competitive racing on the exit of the pits, but I guess maybe some self-preservation is in play here. Urban Fire on his soft tyres as well, they're in P7. Voodoo's pulled out a 2.5 second gap to Kakelele, who may have gone off again there it seems. So this could be maybe a bit of a fight back for Kakelele, but he's on soft tyres though, so I'm sure he'll reel Voodoo in fairly quickly, or at least we hope so. Chris Charr leading the way there as he heads into Hawthorns up towards Westfield, now the top of the circuit. And Nick Baker only 1 second back, so not quite the slipstream, but not quite in the dirty air. Bertie is 1.6 behind him. I think we're going to ride on board with Bertie for a little bit as he heads through the descent of Dingledale. Again, a blind corner, you can cut a lot of this inside. You can see there, I think Bertie was about to, maybe concerned about getting a penalty and ducked out again, but bravery there will reward you with so much free lap time, especially as you straight line it through towards Stirling, so you can make the most of that momentum into the final sector of the track. See Bertie well, just not quite so confident on the turning in to that corner. Nick Baker's not pulling away very much, but looks like Marty was grabbing it until I heard some tyre squealing, and Marty's doing his ballerina impression. Sergeant Colon only just evades it. What's happened there to Marty? Let's have a quick look. So maybe just a little bit too hot into the corner. He's floored it, had some understeer. You can hear those right front tyres squealing in pain, and at that point he's just a Beyblade. Marty down into P7 there. Urban Fire will be saying thank you very much for some free places there. I think we've got a bit of a battle going on here for P4 and 5. If I look here, Sergeant Colon has Mad Daz hot on his heels. We're going to jump on board then with Mad Daz. We've got a cockpit view here. Where's the other view? Is it not working? Oh, it's only on the controller. There we go. What do you guys think of this view, this kind of interior GoPro style angle? I'm personally quite a big fan. I do really enjoy it. It looks much more authentic, but the fact that it doesn't exactly face forwards could be a bit bothersome for some, I can imagine. We'll jump back to the main cockpit one, I think, if I can get there. There we go. So Mad Daz using a lot of the inside curve there and a lot of the exit curve too. He's just reading back into Sergeant Colon's slipstream there. But how much of this corner will he take? He's not taking too much off the inside, causing him to run a little bit wide there, but not off track. He is about 2/3 of a tenth there off of the purple fast lap set by the man in front. So he could be seeing a new fast lap for the time being, but not a huge gain by the looks of it. Our front two drivers also dive into pits there. Nick with a tiny bit more fuel saved than Chris Charr. Webson says he loves that view. I think Lay says he's quite keen as well. And actually a big improvement there for Mad Daz. Goes from a very small margin to 4/10 there. It's a 131.1. But of course we've seen 132s in qualifying. He's already trying to put his foot down there on the soft tyres, and there could even be a 130. 2 seconds difference between the soft and hard tyres. Maybe that's why our drivers were getting rid of them so quickly. So Lays calls out his Webby boy in the chat there. So your current racing order after a couple of pit stops, but maybe not all of them, is Big Crazy Bertie in P1. He's 2.8 seconds clear of Sergeant Colon, who's there in P2. He's got Mad Daz a second behind him, hot on his heels. 2.5 seconds down the road is Nick Baker, who pitted, I think, just alongside him. Chris Char there in P5. Marty's in 6th place there. He's got Urban Fire right behind him as well. And actually behind him, Kakalele. A clean move around the outside there. Will Urban Fire think about another dive late into the corner? No, he's going to hold his ground for the time being. Marty not with the best run there out of Hawthorns, and that might open up to Kakalele going through Westfield, sorry. A bad run at Westfield as well, and Kakalele could look up the inside there. It's 2 passes in about 3 corners. As long as he holds the inside line, Marty, who has to give up there, a very dangerous place to try and hold it around the outside, and he does. Kakalele takes P6. Urban Fire still watches battle from P8. There could be some more scraps if anyone makes a mistake or ventures off the circuit. It looks like they're keeping it fairly clean so far. Marty a little bit wide once again there at the final turn. Urban Fire's now going to start reeling him in there, bit by bit, only a couple thousandths at a time. I think Marty there dug to the inside, trying to avoid giving Urban Fire any more slipstream, but that might compromise his run into turn 1. Again, just a touch wide of apex. Urban Fire taking loads of curb, but look at the gaining he's making there. That's half the gap shortened just out of one corner and almost in the back of him as they head up into turn 2. I think Urban Fire's now being very desperate to get past him. You see he's got some soft tyres on. He's not going to want to waste the grip of those tyres. Stuck behind another car, and he's right up behind another car now. Is there a late lunge happening now into the left-hander as we head up the hill through towards Surtees? No, not here. Perhaps Urban Fire quite tactically waiting for the slipstream down the straight, and then we might see another move going on. And we'll jump into the cockpit now and see. No, he thinks Marty's had a better run there heading through Pilgrim's Drop, so no chance at the move for Urban Fire. Maybe he's going to have a better chance in the corners. Battling at the front, actually battling at the front. Marty's dropped it in the grass. He's going to let Urban go, I think. Maybe he knows that battle is going to be done sooner rather than later. Urban into P7. Colon, though, is still trying to fend off Mad Daz there for P1 and 2. Bertie's very close, but will pull away into the pit lane for some new boots, I think. So Colon leads him over the line for lap 7 of 30. Mad Daz only half a second behind. And Colin will really have to put his foot down there. Like 130.7 is a cracking lap time, but you see he was almost a second and a half slower on the previous outing. Mad Daz now only half a second behind, gaining out of the exit there of Druid's Hairpin as well. Let's see just how close he can get as they head through Graham Hill Bend onto the Cooper Straight. Bit of a dodgy exit there, quite squirrely as he comes off of the curb, so no chance of making an overtake up in the straight there towards Hawthorns unless he has an absolute rocket ship exit there, and he's had a good one. Just crawling back into the slipstream of Sergeant Colon there, but no chance of a move anytime soon. Nick Baker in P3 there, heading under the bridge. Chris Char in 4th. And then Chris Char with a purple middle sector, a quarter of a second up there. We might even see a 30.5 from Chris if he keeps it going. Bertie's now down to P5 following his pit stop. He's putting some soft tyres, I think a full tank of fuel, but that's putting him right into the clutches of Kakalele. Is there a move up the inside here? He'd be very bold and brave, but he's not going to try it there. Let's see who gets the better run out of Westfield. It looks like Bertie's just got that extra bit of momentum here. Kakalele really closing up on the brakes, though, it seems. Both of them just riding the white line as they head out of Dingle Dell through Stirling's now onto the final straight. Let's see, is there a chance for Kakalele to make a move? He's half a second back. It would be a little bit reckless from there. What's his run like through the final corner? Using all of the exit curb there at Clearways. He's really made some gains there. He's taken a 10th out of him already. As we jump on board, is there a chance at a late lunge? I don't think so from this far back. But is Bertie going to start defending thin air? No, Bertie takes an excellent line there. A little bit sideways, as is Kakalele. But they'll have to fight that one another day, it seems. Kakalele's had a lot of improvements since joining the Amigos Racing Team Academy last season. Qualifying tonight wasn't quite for him. He was last at the start of the race, but having picked up a few places by some clean, consistent driving, unfortunately an accident at the start before all of that could come into play, we might yet see him into our top 5. He's just on the cusp of it now. So he's had a decent run there through Surtees, but I don't think he's going to have to slipstream as he heads up the hill. So we'll jump back to our battling trio. I say trio, it's now a duo, as Mad Daz has dropped Nick Baker by 2 seconds compared to or after round of pit stops, I should say. Nick, though, with that lap time of 30.5, he clearly has got some pace under his wheels. He's just got to make sure that he's using it as often as he can. So Mad Daz is going to be desperate there to push really hard there out of clearaways and make sure that he can hold on to the slipstream of Sergeant Curl and just ride those coattails as much as he can. You can see Cole maybe a little bit later on the brakes there, heading into Paddock Hill Bend. He's pulled out a second or so there, but now the poor exit, Mad Daz is right back in the mix of things. Marty is disconnected, it seems. They'll have to find out what's happened to him at a later date. Cole getting very drifty out of turn 2, and Mad Dad's going to start reading him in now there. He's like he's 0.3 of a second up, so we could even see some 29s by the end of this race, which would be a fantastic effort from the guys tonight. 0.4 up now. He's really looking for that 1 minute 29 lap time, and just, I think, sneaking into the slipstream there of Sergeant Colon. We look back very quickly as Nick is still holding Chris Char at arm's reach there. 1.3 seconds. Looks like everyone's starting to go purple now, so maybe these tyres are starting to find some heat, and as the fuel's wearing off, they're reaching that really nice crossover point of optimal grip and weight. As the tyres though start to wear, the fuel burns away, we'll start looking towards some understeer, some earlier braking. That will cost some lap time in turn. Nick is still a 10th or 2 up on his previous best, the race's previous best actually. But as we follow Mad Daz into the final corner, he's again just holding to the slipstream of Sergeant Colon, and as he heads over the line, is this going to be our 29? Not quite. Not good enough to beat Nick Baker there. As Nick crosses the line, he takes another 10th out of his previous best. So maybe Mad Daz, if he doesn't get past Colon soon, will have to start looking in his rear view mirrors and think about some defending. Speaking of defending though, Colon holding the inside line as the big Mad Daz, sorry, is very late on the brakes there. Let's see these two battling here. Colin defending a little bit there, but turning maybe a little early. Gets a decent exit though, just about saves it on the way out. But now Colin knows that if he can keep Mad Daz on the back foot here, heading up the hill, he might gain another 10th or 2 as they head towards the second sector there. Not the best exit for Sergeant Colin, and Mad Daz is really trying to make most of his slipstream now. He's having a quick look, just showing his nose, reminding Colin that he's still there. He's not dropped him yet. The question is, will Sergeant Colon drop him, or will he drop his own car into the gravel? He's often struggled with consistency issues, Sergeant Colon, but when he's on his day, he's a very competitive and very solid driver. See lots of brave driving there as they head through Dingle Dale, and you can see there Nick has already taken about half a second out of Mad Daz over that last lap alone. So now we could be considering a 3-way battle for the lead. Colin just about keeping Mad Daz away there, half a second in it or so. Nick though is gaining once more out of that final corner. He seems to find some really good traction at that last turn, and there it is, a 1:29.995, and I bet Nick's still got some more in the bag, so this will be a really exciting race for him. Not often been blessed with luck in Amigos Racing Team Academy, but perhaps this will be a chance for him to really shine as we finish there our first third of the race tonight. We've got another 29 laps to go here, so plenty of time for some more action, for some more mistakes, for some more side-by-side racing. Not sure if we've got any as we scroll back through the field just there. It seems that our field spread's quite distinct if we're not in the top 3 or 4, so we'll jump back there to Big Mad Daz. You can see he's now much closer to Sergeant Cullen than he was before, only 4/10 back as they're almost inseparable under the bridge, but still not going to be a chance for a dive bomb. I don't think they're heading up into Hawthorne. Nick's lost just a little bit of time there to Mad Daz. See, it's for 1.7 as he crossed the line. It's now 1.9, and Chris Chai is now in fact in the slipstream over Nick Baker, so we could have two changes for position here if these guys are not very careful. Nick just grabbing the grass there, but keeps it in a straight line. Mad Daz had a bit of a gain there on Sergeant Colon, but I think had a bit of a scruffy exit, has thrown that time away. Nick, though, starting to pull a gap again on Chris Chai. He needs to make sure he keeps him just out of that 1 second distance to prevent the slipstream. Again, you see how early Nick is on the throttle heading out of clearways around the Clark curve, and that might just be what's giving him the edge over the guys around him. But Sergeant Colin is doing an excellent job to keep the pressure out of his head, to ignore what's going on behind him and just keep his eyes on the task at hand. Currently leading this race by just over 0.6 of a second. Coming down there as Mad Daz lunges into turn 2, the Druids hairpin, but not necessarily the best exit out there. So as we'll try 4 drivers heading through the Cooper straight there. Chris Char only 3 seconds off the leader. A very good exit there out of Graham Hill Bend, and if he keeps this up he will find himself definitely in contention for a podium, if not more. He's just there. Also had a really good exit out of Surtees, meaning he'll be in the slipstream of Nick John Baker, heading up towards the top of the circuit there. These guys really starting to pull in on each other. This will be a fantastic fight as the race goes on, I'm very sure. But as we say, our current standings through our first 30% of the race, we have Colon in the lead, Mad Daz in second, your man here Nick John Baker in third, Chris Char just behind in P4. Little ways further back down there, Big Crazy Bertie, who I know is quite keen on saving his tyres, saving his fuel, so maybe he's going for the long game here. We've got Kakalele in P6. Urban Fire on his own kind of island there in P7. Unfortunately, Voodoo's not had the best of times, in 8th place there, 41 seconds off of the P7 man, and Marty unfortunately had disconnected a couple of laps earlier. Colon now, I think, is starting to maybe feel the pressure just a little bit more there, as Mad Daz is only 0.3 of a second behind there. Chris Char having set the fastest lap now, a 10th faster than Nick Baker, 1:29.8. You can see these two pairs of drivers are really starting to bear down on each other now. We're going to jump on board, I think, with Sergeant Colon and just see if we can see what he sees from the rear wing of that McLaren 650S. It's a wonderful sea of blue here, a liveries prepared by our very own Elite Digits. A big thank you to you, Elite, they look spectacular as always. Colin seems like he just put out a couple of tenths there on Mad Daz through that second section there, but it looks like Mad Daz has had a really good exit there out of Surtees and will start pulling back at him up the hill. And again, that's about 5 tenths as they headed up the hill. It's now just about to 3 tenths or so as they head through the final sector of the circuit. And really crucial here, just a slight right hand kick, brake in a straight line, maybe trail braking just to keep the car slowing and pointing the right way. And early on the power, as early as you dare, without running off into that ominously large gravel trap. Mad Daz with an excellent exit on the second to last corner. He's just showing his nose, maybe looking for an inkling of a move, maybe trying to scare Colin wide. Colin hasn't fallen for it this time, just keeping it on the track there, but Nick John Baker has not, and off he goes into the gravel. He will be absolutely gutted with that. He was having a fantastic race up to that point, was really showing some pace, but I think he's just outbroken himself there. Yeah, just outbroken himself, didn't quite get the rotation in the car. Tried to save it with some power, but unfortunately where these Group 4 cars are very heavy, it's caused him to just to understeer off the circuit and slide into the gravel, so he'll be very disappointed there. But of course, if he can make the mistake, I'm sure the guys in front of him can as well, and I'm sure he'll be counting on them to have a little lapse in concentration or a little lack in judgment. We can see that Chris Char is now filling that space vacated by Nick, and he's also trying to make some inroads on the leading pair. Mad Daz still about half a second behind Sergeant Colin, so clearly he's not able to quite work out and exploit Colin's weaker parts of the circuit, or perhaps Colin knows where Mad Daz is struggling and he's starting to push harder in those certain areas. So it seems that Mad Daz is great on the runs into the straights, but Colin seems to have him in the twistier segments. I think we're going to jump on board back again with Mad Daz as he tries to hunt down Sergeant Colon. He's 6/10 or so behind, so I wouldn't say it's close enough for a lunge into the final turn, but of course if we can keep in the slipstream, that'll give him a better advantage starting lap 15. Just a hint of a lift there you might have seen as he's about to run onto the gravel, perhaps an indication that the soft tyres are starting to show signs of age and fatigue. As well, get him screeching there as he just misses the apex very slightly of turn 1, but up into 5th gear, braking hard on the gantry. He's going to be using 2nd gear for some rotation, and there's so minimal wheel spin in this car, it's super reassuring just to plant the throttle on the way out of a corner, just absolutely pin it to the floor and accelerate hard. Caroline is now 4/10 ahead there, making that almost 3. They're both a little bit wide there through Surtees. Who's on the power early? I think it may well have been Mad Daz. Caroline is now moving to the left to try and break the slipstream. Maybe now he's starting to feel a little bit concerned that Mad Daz knows where he's weak, and Mad Daz knows where he can find that just an extra little bit more time. If he can keep with him in the lap, he'll start catching him maybe at the end of that first sector. Very crucially though, it seems that Chris Charles also he's just fallen out of it there, but for a moment he was also in the slipstream of Mad Daz. And of course, once he gets into slipstream, Daz will then have to start thinking about, is he looking forward or if he's looking behind. Well, Chris seems to have gone off there, as I curse the commentator. In fact, he's gone straight into the wall. I completely missed that out of the corner of the shot there. What's happened to Chris? So up into Dingledale, yeah, he's just broken much too late there. He couldn't get the car turned in, and the grass and gravel have put him into a spin. A huge shame. He had some real pace there as well. Sorry, Chris. Did cover slightly ruined that one for you there. Nick John Baker resumes P3, but still 7 and a bit seconds off of the leading pair. So we're now over the halfway point in tonight's race. Colon and Mad Daz are still P1 and P2, fighting tooth and nail for those top points. Nick Baker's in 3rd, Chris Char in P4, Bertie in 5th, Urban in 6th. He's got Kakale starting to hunt him down now in P7, and Voodoo is currently at the back of the pack. And again, Sergeant Coleman there moving across the track, trying to break the slipstream. Mad Daz does. He must absolutely know that Coleman is quite weak heading up and out of Surtees. And it may almost be a certainty at Surtees for Mad Daz if he can start reading him in at other sectors here. Only a quarter of a second in it, but a little bit late on the brakes there. Coleman's very brave on the brakes there through Westfield. Now through Dingledale again, trying to chop off as much of the right hand as he can. Coleman's not chopped the corner though, he's put it in the grass, and Mad Daz is side by side. Coleman trying to brake late, but with dirty tyres he won't have the grip to compete. Mad Daz swoops around the outside and takes P1. Let's see again what happened to Sergeant Colon. So again, not quite braking in a straight line. He's locked the front wheels. They're sliding across the tarmac. No grip available there at all. I think at this point here, Colon knows he can't outbrake Mad Daz on dirty tyres. That will just cause an accident. Colon quite sensibly there, taking a more conservative line, but that does put Mad Daz into the lead. As we hear those soft tyres really starting to screech and squeal now. They should last the rest of the race, given they've probably done about 5 laps before they came into the pits. But they will need to make sure that they do go gentle on them, of course. The tyre wear does include tyre temperatures, and overheating and overworking that tyre will result in an ultimate loss of grip rather than a gain. So you don't want to be scrubbing them with oversteer or unnecessary steering lock. Bertie now comes into the pits off of his soft tyres. Let's see what his plans are as he hits the stands. He's now onto a fresh set of tyres, a fresh set of soft tyres, but he will take a 3-second penalty for crossing the pit lines, and I think there's a car in the gravel that will make that slightly easier for him to get over. It's Urban Fire, who's gone off at the exit of turn 1. What's happened to him? He's just gone into turn 1, missed the apex, gone a little bit too hot, and that will be what's put him into the gravel there. Urban Fire though, also still thinking he's driving the rallycross version here of the McLaren. Very late on the brakes there, but keeps ahead of Big Crazy Bertie, which will be crucial for him, knowing that Bertie has that 3-second penalty. Back at the front, it is Big Mad Daz. He's got a 1-second lead over Sergeant Colon. Hasn't got a purple lap yet, but that is his own personal best there, a 1:30.464, about a tenth and a half up on his previous best. Sergeant Colon there in P2. We saw run off just a little bit wide there at Dingledale, but he's clearly driving like a man possessed, trying to reclaim that P1. We don't often see him on the podium, but this would be a great day for him if he could. He's 2 tenths up on his personal best time, which at that pace would currently put him in line for a 1:30.3, not quite the 1:29.8 we saw Chris Charr put in an electric time a few laps ago. But Colin is pushing now. It's another half a tenth he's taken out of his personal best, so he really is going to go at this now, hammer and tong, to try and pursue Big Mad Daz. Crucially for him as well, he may start seeing oncoming traffic in the form of Voodoo. We'll jump on board with him for a moment. Not seeing much of Voodoo tonight, unfortunately. He's not had the best of races, but let's see if and where he's planning to give those places up to Mad Daz and Colon. Not at Dingledale, it seems. He's getting the blue flags, so hopefully he might do it here out of Stirling's onto the final straight. But of course, if Mad Daz isn't quite up behind him, there's not necessarily an obligation to give that place away. So perhaps he's just going to wait until Mad Daz is that bit closer. Let's see, and it looks like Voodoo, I would have given it away there. He's now sat on the racing line. That's really blocked Mad Daz there, and Colon, it looks like he may well gain some time there. In fact, he's lost some time, maybe gone a little bit wide there instead. He's actually lost about half a second, it seems. Mad Daz is now past Voodoo. Sergeant Colon is looking to get past him as well, but he's just not seen the signs. Voodoo, get out of the way! And the guys with the big blue police cloth on the side, you know what that means. May have to be a student's investigation on Voodoo after the race for ignoring blue flags there. I think Colin will be livid. He's lost half a second in those few corners alone there to Big Mad Daz. If that costs him the race, he is not going to be a happy bunny. He's finally passed Voodoo there on the back straight of Pilgrim's Drop, but he's now got a lot more time to regain. Kakalele dives into the pits there, and he comes back out in P6. Just about comes back out and keeps it on the tarmac. He's put a fresh set of soft tyres on there. Third place is Chris Charr. He's 12 seconds adrift of Sergeant Colin, and Nick Baker lurking in the background there in P4. Bertie's down in P5 with a fresh set of soft tyres we saw in pits earlier. Kakalele down in 6th, he's just come out. He's 6 seconds ahead of Urban Fire, down in P7 with another fresh set of tyres for him. And Voodoo is at the back of the pack, causing chaos for leading cars, it seems. Now that Voodoo's out the way, let's see what Sergeant Cohen's got in his bag of tricks. He's not quite got the apex of turn 1, but he will have a good push there, using all the rumble strip on the exit there down into Druid's hairpin. He's going to try and push as hard as he can out of here, and he's not quite gone as aggressive as he could do, but he's not far off his previous best already, only about 300ths of a second away, or not even half a tenth. So we might well start to see some more consistency from Sergeant Colon. We're on lap 20 of 30, so we're now entering the final third of the race. Not the best run there for him out of Graham Hill and Surtees there. So he's going to have a lot more work to do as he climbs the hill, then descends the Pilgrim's Drop and heading up to Hawthorns. So only 1.4 seconds in it. He has made some inroads there on Big Mad Daz, but we know, we saw earlier, Mad Daz always has a good run out of Surtees and up the hill and away from the middle sector. So Colin will really have to think about how he approaches that corner now. Takes a lot of the curb on the inside there. That's gained him a lot of time, but at the cost of a half-second penalty. The penalty zone being just where he is now, those yellow boxes with the black chevrons. When he comes around again next lap, that half second will surely equate to at least a full one. And that time he got spent behind Voodoo, you can see if he wasn't half a second down, he'd be right in the slipstream of Mad Daz right now, and instead he'll be looking 2 seconds, 2.5 seconds away, I estimate. Just coming through the final turn there is Chris Charr. He's got Nick Baker 4.5 seconds behind there, down in P4. Then we have a sizable gap to Big Crazy Bertie's going through Dingledale at the moment. Kakalele is there in P6 as the Urban Fire is now in P7, about 7 seconds separating those guys, and Voodoo at the back of the pack there has been lapped by the leader and is currently in P8 of 9. Marty GT, sorry, had to leave earlier. So it seems that this really is the main battle that's going on tonight. Mad Daz and Sergeant Colon. We have to see though, is Mad Daz going to make a mad dash to the line, or is it Sergeant Colon finally going to pull rank and take charge of this race? We've got 9 laps, well 8.5 laps I should say, to decide it. Colon is about to serve his penalty once he drops through Dingledale and Stirlings. That's a much better approach for that corner. You can see they're really gaining on Mad Daz, and again through left-hander of Stirlings, he's going very aggressive now, but this penalty is going to cost him. Let's have a look. He hits the gate with 9/10 of time there, and he goes through the final turn about 1.6 seconds down. So yeah, as I reckon there, almost a second of time lost through the penalty zone. And he really does have to pull that back now as he heads on to his last few laps. My apologies there, that break in the commentary was brought to you by a multi-flavoured fruit flavour soft drink, perhaps in the style of a PhD peppercorn. Other soft drinks are available. Mad Daz there is still leading a race with 1.8 seconds. Colon, and make that more as Colon spins off at Westfield, catching the rear on the gravel and into the barrier, spears it again for good measure. And is that, where's Chris Chai? He's just gone past him there to take P2. Let's see what happened again there to Sergeant Colon. He just runs a touch wide. One wheel of the gravel is all it takes, clatters the barrier. And as he tries to rejoin, here comes Chris Chai. He sees lap traffic in front of him with Voodoo, and there is Sergeant Colon getting rather intimate there with the side of the circuit. Chris Chai up into P2, but still 11 seconds off the lead. There will have to be a colossal mistake from Mad Daz to make gains there. ART JRM there says a spin and a donut for good measure. Can't really fancy a donut. Reminds me to buy some donuts for my friends at work. Thanks for that, Jerry. I have to get out after this. So Chris Shaw in P2 trying to get past Voodoo, who's currently a lap down, and Nick Baker in 3rd place, only 4 seconds off of Chris. There still could be a fight here to go on very new tyres, I must say, as well there. Sergeant Collins meanwhile are looking much worse for wear, and I doubt he'll be catching Nick Baker unless there's another big incident. But we've seen Colin has pace tonight. 1:35 is by no means a bad time, but the guys in front of him have pulled out some slightly more impressive laps, so the ball really is now in his court. Big Crazy Bertie there 30 seconds back, heading through turn 2. He's in P5, and Kakanele just cresting the hill there out of turn 1 is in P6, only 3.5 seconds back. Urban Fire 10 seconds down the road there in P7. Voodoo in 8th and final position there, 41 seconds away from Urban Fire. So let's see, where is our nearest battle? I think it must be 3.5, 3.4. It is probably around here. It's Kakalele and Chris. Sorry, Nick and Chris, or it's probably Kakalele and Bertie. I'll look at these guys for the time being, especially as we might see Nick have to make a brave move past Voodoo, because Voodoo's not been keen to get those laps down away to the other drivers. So we'll run the ball with Nick for a little bit as he takes us around Brands Hatch. So we're trying to break maybe the second marker there in a straight line, coasting through Paddock Hill Bend there, using as much of the exit curve as you can, heading up Hallwood Hill into Druids, late on the brakes under the bridge, down to second gear, and again with the weight in these cars and the low power you can really push on the exit there as you head it out of Druids. Now down to Graham Hill Bend, break in a straight line, cut as much curve as you can, run as wide as possible, don't get on the grass, onto the Cooper straight, and now we head into the Surtees. Not an obvious brake marker here. I like to brake at the start of the rumble strip, throw it to the inside through Surtees, and again as wide as you dare up the hill. Now he's got the slipstream of Voodoo to help draw closer to Chris Char. He's going to need it because he didn't have the best run there. Down the Pilgrims Drop, up the Hawthorns Hill, and right to Hawthorns Bend, braking just before the first and final marker there. Knock Up making the apex, but keeps it on the track. A short burst of throttle now into Westfield. You want to really cut the inside curve there. Nick's not quite got all of it, but he saved it from going wide. Now to Dingledale, the most dangerous part of the circuit, a blind uphill right-hander. Nick's just caught the grass, but crucially cut it on the inside instead, which will save him a lot more time. Voodoo Wall, very late early in the brakes there. That's thrown Nick right off his head into Sterling's. He's not going to appreciate that one. See, it's cost him already a tenth, maybe two, heading down the final straight there, through clearways, out the Clark curve, making sure to avoid the gravel on the outside that's taken many victims, I'm sure, and heading over the line there. A 1:31.7, not his best time at all. He's definitely done faster, but crucially he still made it around the track in one piece, which is more than can be said for some of the other drivers we've had tonight. He's got 5 seconds up to Chris Char, 5 seconds back to Sergeant Colon, so any mistake could be crucial here. We've only got this lap and 5 more to go. Mad Dad's looking fairly comfortable in the lead there. He's got a 9.6 second gap to Chris Char, again with a fantastic run it seems out of Surtees. But looking at that front left tyre, it's starting to look quite low. I can't remember if Mad Dad's pitted at the start of the race or perhaps maybe 1 or 2 laps in, but a couple more laps may have been really important for him to save some of that precious tyre life. Just heading around there through Westfield is Chris Char, 8.7 down to Mad Daz, but 5.5 away from Nick. It's about the same time back to Sergeant Colon, who is on an absolute warpath trying to get back his podium positions. Bertie is in 5th place there, so I think that is Mad Daz heading through the final corner at the back of the shop. He's got Kakalele only 4.7 seconds behind. He'll be hunting him down very aggressively, I'm sure. We saw Bertie there trying to save the tyres and save the fuel. I think he's only made 1 stop if I recall. So this could be a good race for Bertie in terms of his management of his resources. Urban is in P7 there, 14.5 seconds off of Kakalele. Voodoo, last but not least, is just almost a minute back on Urban Fire. Perhaps this hasn't been his circuit car combination. Maybe he didn't have so much time to practice this time. But Voodoo has been known to pull it out the bag on occasion. He is normally Mr. Consistency, but unfortunately an incident at the start of the race took him and Kakalele out of contention. So we've got Mad Daz still leading our race here. Our battle for P2 is eased off a little bit there. Chris doesn't like he's really getting away from Nick. Nick might just be pushing now from Sergeant Colon on those slightly newer tyres, but he's not making many inroads on Chris Char, and this could well be our finishing positions come the end of the race. An interesting race nonetheless. Perhaps maybe just a little bit of a shame that we didn't quite have the regular full-size cohort that we tend to have. But the ART Academy races almost always throw up some interesting spills and thrills, as Nick seems to spill just a little bit too far off the circuit there and catch himself a half-second penalty. And I'm very excited to be hosting the next race in about a month or so's time. I hope, as I see on the radar, another spin, and Sergeant Colon has gone off at his favourite place once again. Let's see what's happened there. I think he may have just caught some grass on the outside. He does indeed. Just 1 or 2 wheels in the grass, and again, these racing soft tyres, as soon as you try and correct an oversteer moment, they grip up instantly and just spin you off into the shadow realm. He's lost about, I think maybe about 12 seconds there to Nick Baker. He's not lost too much there to Bertie, I don't think, but as we go back here, Bertie just crossed with the penalty zone there, so still 17 seconds back. That must be Voodoo's coming around the first corner now. Yes, it is. So unfortunately not much to report in the way of fighting at the moment. We've seen a couple of spills and spins tonight at Brands Hatch Grand Prix, but it's been a fairly clean race, a fairly stable pace by each of our drivers, and I think maybe it's trying to ease their way back into academy driving. So it's been a fairly good showing by those involved tonight. We hope to see him again in another month or so. But Mad Daz here, I think, on a mission to impress his friends. Having been in the Academy Series last year, not the most successful run for him, but this could be a fairly convincing victory if he holds it together. Again, that front left tyre is not looking particularly healthy. Another 3 laps will probably be all it's got left in it, so crucially for Mad Daz, 3 laps is all he has left of the race. Just keeping it on the tarmac, no silly mistakes, no attempts at a fastest lap, no reckless driving, and this should be a win in the bag for him. He's 7 seconds up on Chris Charr, so plenty of time to play with and no need for him to push at all. Chris, though, I feel, will be quite the opposite. He's got a little bit more left in his tyres, and I think if anyone's going to push hard and try and seal a win from the jaws of defeat, it might well be this man. He's really taken a couple tenths there out of Big Mad Daz in the first few corners alone, so I think he is getting the message and the hurry up from his mechanics back in the garage. The race isn't over and there is still a chance at a win if there's even a single slip up. We've seen Colon go wide twice at Dingledale. We've seen people spin it on the final corner there at the Clark Curve, so there is still all to play for. I think here as well, Nick Baker with some fantastically maintained soft tyres there after another pit stop. Maybe he didn't even need to pit stop. Perhaps if he hadn't pitted, he would be in the lead now, because those pit stops do seem to take quite a while here at Brands Hatch. But of course he would have been paying for that with tyre life, and that might have caused a further mistake, as we saw from Sergeant Colon here down in P4. Not his best race by any means. Again, it seems to be consistency's got the better of him tonight. But a couple more sessions, a bit more practice, and I'm sure he'll nail that too. We've got Bertie here in at P5 on his own island there. Not much to report for Bertie today. We've got Kakalele in P6. Again, he's involved in an incident with Voodoo at the start of the race that pretty much took him out of any chance of being in the serious fighting point scoring positions. But he'll be back stronger. He always comes back stronger. Urban Fire in P7. He just seems to like being out of the way, if I'm honest. He's a he's a regular member of the Academy Racing guys, one of our moderators here. Not necessarily the fastest, but definitely one of the most respectful guys. Very, very consistent, I would say, as well. And he just tried to keep his nose clean, I think, tonight. Unlike our man here, Voodoo, who's not had the cleanest of noses. I'm sure if the visual damage is on, you'll see that some of that blue paint is definitely not where it should be. He'll be looking to redeem himself in our next round, I'm sure. It seems though that Chris Charr is still pushing hard to catch Mad Daz. We might just see him in the back of our shot there. There he is. He's only one corner behind. He is now starting to push hard on Mad Daz. Daz must know those tyres are about to give up, and he cannot afford for that as he heads on to the penultimate lap. Well, he's finishing the penultimate lap, I should say. It's another few tenths in the bag there for Chris Charr. So he really does want to make sure that he makes the most of those tyres, those fresher set of soft tyres, as they head round to the final lap in case there's an error from Mad Daz. Just a hint of understeer, late braking, or tyre scrubbing. That could be all the gap that Chris needs to find a way into the lead. 4.5 seconds now as he crosses the line. And there Mad Daz is just trying to gently usher those tyres around the first corner, opening the steering, using all of the exit curb there. Chris Charr doing the similar thing there as well down in P2. Nick Baker with again a bit of a slide happening there, but he's still fairly confident, fairly planted in P3. Colin in P4, he's also got his flashing fuel indicators. Colin will be hoping after the disaster he's had tonight that he'll at least make it to the finish. But stranger things have happened. Bertie in P5 there, he'll be comfortable to the finish line there. Kakalele is already blinking, he's not actually at the finish line yet, so we might even see him have to jump in for a splash and dash. Could put Urban Fire up into P6. Let's see what Kakalele chooses to do here. Kakalele looks like he's going to go for one lap, so maybe he's got it in him just to save that little bit extra fuel. Bertie there, I thought it was going to be overtake for Bertie, but in fact he's just going to be he's going to be lapping Voodoo there, it seems. Urban Fire down P7, he's also precariously low on fuel, but perhaps he's just got enough to make it for another lap, and I think he's going to stick it out, yes. Voodoo there, he's got Bertie behind him in P5. Looks like Mad Daz, though, is going to hold off the charge from Chris Charr. Or the Chris charge, I guess I could have said now, couldn't I? Hindsight's a wonderful thing. That McLaren is a wonderful thing, and Big Daz will be claiming a first wonderful win here at the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit, flashing his lights, giving it a weave, and crossing the checkered flag there to take P1. Chris Shaw fighting really hard and following home in second place, and a well-deserved podium for an underrated man there, Nick Baker. Great job from him today. Sergeant Colon had an absolute nightmare, it seems, today. He'll be hoping for a better turnout next time, but this should be him coming home in P4. Big Crazy Bertie having really reeled him in there, only 8 seconds back by the time he comes over the line. But we're not going to see it because the race time has cut him off. So unfortunately there, that'll be all she wrote. Big Mad Daz claims the win from pole position. We'll run you through our results one more time. Big Mad Daz in first place there, race time of 46 minutes and a second. Chris Chart in P2 there, only 2 and a bit seconds off the leader, and with a 1 minute 29.863, a cracking lap time from him at race pace. Nick Baker in third place there, only a tenth or so off that fastest lap. He really showed some speed tonight as well. Sergeant Colin in fourth, having made a couple mistakes too many there. Big Crazy Bertie in P5, another consistent drive from him. Kakalele in 6th, Urban in 7th, Voodoo in P8, and Marty unfortunately disconnecting about a third of the way through the race. Well, that's all she wrote for you here at Amigos Racing Team Academy Round 1 here at Brands Hatch Grand Prix. We hope to see you again possibly next month for our second instalment. I've got no idea what track it is, what car it is, but I can guarantee you it's going to make for some very exciting racing. So we'll see you soon. Have a nice evening and a great weekend. Take care now. Bye-bye.